recording. Cool. All right, so we're gonna go over some trade views that were from last week. So I'm just gonna look at the trade logs that I had from last week. We actually had a couple of really big trades. I think I'll probably cover more of the highlight ones though. So we had, I believe, one on Thursday. That was a really nice one. And I think we had a loser on Wednesday. Actually, just bring up Stonk Journal. That way it's easier to see. Okay. So, yeah, the 17th was a pretty big trading day, and Thursday was also another really nice day. Yeah, so we'll just go over those two really quickly, and then we'll also go over one losing trade that I ended up taking. So let's go with that. So first one was going to be on the 17th. Need to
Good
find.
morning.
Morning, Carlos. Is that Carlos? That
Yeah,
is. Morning. How we doing?
morning. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good,
How
good, good.
about you?
Good, good, good.
Okay.
We're just getting started. We're just gonna do some trade reviews first from last week. Just go over a
Okay.
couple of trades and then we'll go over the weekly watch list. So that's what we'll be doing. All right. So first setup was gonna be on Wednesday the 17th, and it was, I believe it should have been a short. Yeah, it was a short at 10:06 a.m. It's pretty early on actually. Okay, should have been right about here. Okay, so 10:06 to 10:09, so really quick actually. I'm not even sure if you guys even got this one. Oh, I think it was just this one right here. This is just a quick momentum trade. Yeah, so 10:06 right about here roughly, and then to 10:09, which was the end of this candle actually. So I'd assume it was, yeah, 64, so it was 2164. So 2164. Oh yeah, it was off of this back test candle right there, and then all the way down to 2110. So I do believe a lot of these trades here are actually going to be like really quick. Um, so literally just, this move right here from the top of this wick all the way down to 110. So that was about 50 points there, 54 points actually, and that was a full hold as well. So that was a really quick move. But I believe this trade was purely based off of momentum, from what I remember. Uh, Not too much with this one, honestly. We did get that break, I believe, below QQQ. So they should have been mirrored off of QQQ, and I believe that was that break below 486. So we had this break below 486 on QQQ off this line, and then our target was just to move back down to 485. So that's going to be that even psych level. So really quick overall. But you could obviously see we had a pretty good amount of weakness here that actually came through. We could actually even take a look at this on QQQ as well, but it should be pretty much the exact same thing. Um, yeah. Okay, so on QQQ, this makes a little bit more sense for me. Um, we had a pretty major level here at this 487 that we were holding. Let's see. Yeah, so it's a pretty big level here at this 487. So we're holding off the morning, and it actually looked like we started to flag. Yeah, it looked like we flagged a little bit here before actually breaking down. And we got a pretty strong momentum candle below that 487. Looks like we even swept straight through that 486, and we actually ended up getting that 5-minute candle close below it, right? So after that, the following candle opened, I got an entry on just a quick, little back test here of 486. Took the entry right there, and then we were just targeting psych level down to 485, which should have been right about, yeah, that was pretty much perfect, right at that 485 right there. Like I said, I was pretty much strictly off momentum. I believe we did have a couple of weakness coming from other names. Let's see. I believe Apple was one of those weaker names on the 17th. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so this was one of the names that I was actually watching. During that time, actually, it was Apple with its flagging structure. So Apple in this case was the one that actually led that pull down to 45. So you see we had this nice early flagging structure right there. Simple overall. Right. Duplicate the flag pull, bring it down, pretty much to the top. And depending on how you draw it, it should be at the highest point of the flagpole, which is going to be from this wick. So the highest point from the flagpole is about there, but you can still see TP hits perfectly anyways. Um, but yeah, you can see right at this 10 o'clock candle, right? We got this 5-minute candle close below this higher low structure, although we really would want to see a break below this low. So confirmation technically would have been through this candle. Um, and this actually was it because we took our entry at 10:06 and this is the 10:05 close. So you could already see Apple was actually starting to break down already. And then we just got a little bit of a continued momentum trade right there because it did still have more room to come down from that target. So pretty nice overall from that one. And then I don't think Nvidia had anything. I believe it was pretty choppy during that time when we were looking at the setup. Yeah, so Nvidia there actually believe, let's see, 19, 17. Yeah, so it looks like Nvidia was actually flagging here a little bit as well. Although it definitely was, it did take a lot longer to form. You can see here, right when we actually took our entry, Nvidia was kind of just like stalling here, right at this 118. Although it actually did get a little bit of a really quick drop. Um, right here at this 1010, or from 1005 to 1010, we actually continued to drop more down to 118, which definitely could have continued to push us, but we see we did actually end up stalling here a little bit more on Nvidia. So yeah, that was a pretty quick trade overall. So nothing too much going on right there. All right, any questions on that? Pretty self-explanatory though. Like I said, there's really not too much with that, just because it was really just a momentum-based trade. So there's not really too many confirmations that we could actually kind of look for with that. All right.
So I just wonder, I know you don't take a lot of like momentum trades.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, like the reversal one more. But what makes you take a momentum trade, you know?
So momentum is when I guess more major pivot levels get broken. So 486 or sorry, 487 was going to be that level to kind of watch for me. And also a 486 level. I forget the exact level. It was like 486 and some change, right? Um, so this candle right here for QQQ, right? This QQQ candle right here, right? You can see this is all purely momentum right here, right? There's a lot of volatility in this candle. And how do we end up closing? We ended up closing below pretty much all of my major levels, right? We closed below that 487, and then it was one of those 486 levels, right? And we got that 5-minute candle close lower. So this for me is just going to be that breaker structure, right? Because we ended up breaking below or below a support level, right? So let's just say the 486 level was like 486.25, right? If we end up getting a break below that level, right? Technically, that
Mhm.
would mean that, we would continue down to the next level, and the next level I had for me was going to be 485, right? So all I did was I took that, when we got that break below that level, right, we just took an entry off the back test. And usually when you run momentum trades, you want to have really tight stops. So we probably would have ran like a 10 to 15 point stop just in case, because we are technically buying the bottom right there or at that moment, and we could easily see a reversal. But because it's a momentum trade, we would expect that selling to continue, and you would expect that move to get bought down really quickly, which is why I entered off a back test and not off the immediate close of that 5 minute candle. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so we did that. Obviously, like I said, stop probably would have been a small push back above whatever level I had. I forget exactly what it was, and then I was just targeting that 45 cycle level, and that's it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense.
Cool, cool.
I also meant like what makes you decide between like going with the momentum or waiting for a reversal, you know?
Yeah,
Like
so
in this case, like you decided to join the momentum, but
mhm,
often you wait a little bit and take the reversal side of the trade. You know?
yeah. So when looking to take either a momentum trade or, a reversal, it's really going to depend on our bias for the week, right? Because when we went over last week's watch list, right, we were looking for, more downside. We definitely were expecting for more downside. Um, and this day in particular was going to be that break. As I mentioned, that 487 level, especially on the larger time frame, it's going to be that break of structure. Where are we at? We're over here. Okay. So remember on the weekly time frame, or sorry, like the daily time frame, we were looking for a fill of these imbalances below, right? So, where's the box?
Good morning.
Morning, Phil.
Yeah.
All right.
What you
Hello.
wanna be in ITM on this? Uh, yeah.
Was I gonna be an ITM in for this?
Yeah, I thought about watch this, but yeah, never
Yeah,
mind.
I ended
My
up
fault.
coming in here, but
Yeah,
we're
nice.
just doing a trade view right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so overall weekly sentiment, right? Going into the week was going to be bearish as we were looking for a fill of these imbalances below on the daily, right? So the main one we were watching was going to be this 485 to technically 482 level, right? So we were looking for a fill of these levels here. Um, so as I mentioned, this break below 487, our real targets to catch those momentum trades were going to be down to 482. So we really weren't looking for to take longs last week at all, right? As we were
Hmm.
pretty overall bearish, and we don't want to really go against the trend. As if we take even just a look back at on the 5 minute, right? Literally those past couple of days, we've been pretty much selling, and you'll see that this day in particular, when we actually got this gap down right here, this is going to be the start of that trend shift, right? Because the previous days, the 3 previous days right here, we were starting to base. And if you even kind of just think about it, this is almost like a bear flag, almost, if you really think about it. On the 4 hour, I believe. I think that was something we are also watching.
Yeah, it
See,
was.
this is why I don't use TradingView here. Okay, yes, yeah. So this was a 4 hour bear flag right here, right? You could see that. So that day we got the gap down, right? Got that technically we got that break of structure, and then we opened, somewhere around that 489. So once we actually got that confirmation that okay, sellers are still present and we're still continuing to sell, we're really just gonna ride the momentum for what we have here, right? We've never recaptured back above view up for this level, right? And then once again, we continue to actually flag here, even in the morning, right? We started to flag right here
Hmm.
a little bit. Right, ended up breaking down, continued, cleared more of the major levels, 47 and 46, as I said. So, this is a really, really short R to R trade. This is more like a one-to-one R to R. However, if you're able to catch a nice entry off like a retest, which is kind of like what I did right there on the back test of 486, um, it usually will give you a better R to R there, especially if you run tighter stops. But yeah, like I said, it was really just based off of kind of what I was seeing. Like I said, right, with that Apple structure, we already were in the process of breaking down from that flag. So I was really looking for just, those names to continue there to kind of just lead this move there. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anything
Thank you.
else? All right, let's take a look at the next one. We're actually gonna take a look at the loser or a losing trade now. Um, I actually don't even know why I took this, to be honest. Now looking back, but it's always good to, go back and look at your losing trade. So this is gonna be on 7/18 of last week, which I believe is Wednesday, Thursday. It's Thursday. So it was on Thursday, and it was at 10:27 to 10:29. So this one I actually got stopped out pretty much instantly. You could actually see, um, and it was a long, right? And it's just kind of the main reason why I took that loss is because I was going long, even though, like I said, with the overall general week, we are looking for, technically more downside. We're looking for a fill of these larger imbalances, but you're gonna see why I ended up taking, or at least trying a long here. Um, but yeah, with the structure here, um, right at 10:27, so pretty much within these two candles right here, or technically within just a single candle, and I actually got stopped out pretty much instantly. So long thesis here, right, took entry somewhere about here, I believe, and then I ran a 20-point stop, um, which technically is actually going to be really tight for a week like this week. Now, why do I say that, do you think? Why do I say a 20-point stop is pretty tight on like last week, even though that's what we kind of normally run? Do you guys think?
Oh, we're gonna talk. Yeah, because volatility, the
Yep.
candles bodies are with wicks are very big.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So technically a 20-point stop is going to be um, a tighter stop on a week like last week just because of how volatile these candles um, were. I mean, you could just see it from last week. We were getting literally over 100-point trades or 150-point trades, within a single 5-minute candle or even, within 10 minutes sometimes. But yeah, my reasoning for going long was based off of my overall weekly thesis, as I wasn't expecting actually for us to pull all the way down to these levels here. So that long thesis was just going to be based off the weekly time frame, or sorry, the daily, and it was really just a fill of that imbalance, right? Imbalance fill was going to be at 482.50 on that daily, and you see that we do have a little bit of support that actually comes in here. So I was looking for a more of a minor pivot off of that move there. So was right here. So you'll see here, um, for this morning on Thursday, you see that we actually ended up pulling all the way down, sold off quite a bit, right, closed below VO, and we really just continued that momentum. And you'll notice where we actually ended up bouncing off of. Where do we bounce off of? Bounce off of that daily imbalance, right? So bounce off that daily imbalance, and then attempted to break above VWAP but failed, and then we started to get a back test. So for me, I was actually looking for this to potentially continue up above VWAP. Um, right, entry was just going to be based off of fib entry, right, just drawn from that low to high, you know, entered off the GP, stops below the GP obviously slash new low of day. Um, and yeah, that was pretty much it. Hang on, give me 1 second. Okay, so yeah, that entry was based off of a fib entry right there. However, now looking back at it, this really is just another H setup. And this is something that I actually talked about last week, right? When we have these correction weeks or these really like just trendy weeks, you're gonna see a lot of these H setups or kind of technically inverse H, right? Um, yeah, you're gonna see a lot of these H setups, really just play out. And you could obviously see the H setup that kind of comes in here, right? We have the like almost flag pull down, and we have our little rounded top, I guess you could say. All right, so this level right here would be technically that breaker structure, which is why I did run tight stops right there as well, because we entered up the GP. So invalidation would be, obviously a break below this. And then as you guys know, if we do get this breaker structure from that H setup, that move is going to happen pretty quick. Obviously, you could definitely see that right there once we actually got that break below that low, right? We sold off really, really fast, which is why I ran a really tight stop there. Um, but yeah, like I said, that was just really that thesis for my end. Now looking back, I don't really like it as much as this candle is actually pretty aggressive for me, and we actually ended up closing back inside. We didn't even use this kind of level right here, this 483.40 as support, right? We didn't even close above it. We closed back inside of it. So yeah, not really a fan of this trade now looking back at it, and we never really even got above view up. So that's gonna be yeah, that's gonna be that with that one. Any questions on that? All right, I think we're good. All right, let's go over one more, and we will do the weekly watch list for the upcoming week. So this was actually my largest trade coming in for the week, and it was gonna be actually on this day again um, at 11:06. 11:06 right here. Okay, so this I believe actually was another H setup once again. So looking at this now, what do we have? So we ended up breaking down from that H structure right here. Ended up creating a bit of a larger imbalance. Let me fix this strong left. So we ended up forming a little bit more of a larger imbalance right here. And then we have this gap that we filled from that imbalance. And then we had a back test of it right here, right? Halfway fill of that fair value gap um, right here, right at 482. And then we actually continued to sweep lower. So it's actually a really nice, almost silver bullet concept, but not really. But you could actually see that where is that level we actually rejected off of within this candle? It was that fair value gap on the daily, right? So it actually, I don't know if this is the right term, but is this technically an inverse fair value gap or something like that? When we actually cleared through it and then kind of retested the outside of it. I'm not sure if that's correct. I'm not an ICT person, but maybe that's an inverse fair value gap right there, but not 100%. But yeah, you can see that is right at the bottom of that fair value gap is where we actually ended up testing it, right? What was once old support then turned into resistance, right? That's a structure we see very often. So that's, really nice to see how that played out, right? I noticed that, and then I seen, this technically continued strength come in. This is almost like another mini H setup right here. So all I did was really just ride the wave and then just follow the momentum. As it did look like we were gonna break through this H setup once again. So entry was just gonna be based off of 19971, which I believe should have been right here. Yeah, 1106 was pretty much the opening of this candle right here. So we ended up taking a short right about here roughly. So same exact structure, right, as this one, right? Once we started getting this break below that lower low, right, this H setup, it's gonna move really fast. That's exactly what happened here. So you see, pulled all the way down. Let me actually bring this up on NQ, that way I can give you guys my exact entries. So the 18th is about here. Okay. Yes, I took my exact entry right at 19971. Okay. Maybe not. Okay, maybe it was actually before it. Okay, I think it was before it. I lied. Never mind. It was before it. Okay, okay, so this actually makes a little more sense here. I actually do remember this. So I took the short in anticipation of that H setup forming, and then we were looking for that sweep lower. So we took that entry at the top there, and then we were looking for that break below The
Ja,
lows,
flaggat mig som en topp.
although I didn't actually hold all the way down there, I actually ended up holding to 19,898. So about here actually, pretty much right at the lows, uh, for that trade for me. So that was about 72 points, 73 points right there. Just from this move alone. So you could see, within two candles, he dropped about 70 points. So, pretty insane. But once again, paying attention to the structure, once you got that clear below the lows, right, it's a straight shot down. It's really, really aggressive. So, yes, I technically could have held on to it a little bit more as, the momentum was there and we were looking to continue. But overall, yeah, I think that's pretty much it with that one. Let's see if we have any confluence. I think we should have confluences, though I'm not completely sure. Okay, yeah. So Nvidia looked like it was really nice there as well during that setup. This is, yeah, same date here. Yeah, so Nvidia as well, very similar structure, right? What was once old resist or old support turned into resistance right here. So Nvidia got that break, ended up using this as support. Bounce, we got that break of structure, right? What was old support turned into resistance. All right. So after that, all right, continue to get this break of structure, right? Also had a similar H setup that actually came in on the video here. It actually looks a lot better as well. Right, you can see there is a curved one, I believe. Oh well, I can't find it. Okay, yeah. So you could see the H setup. And one thing that you could actually do, I don't know if told you guys this, but similar to a duplicated flagpole with, like bull flags and whatnot, you could do the same exact thing on H setups, wherever the high of it is, or even, yeah, so wherever the high that H is, right, you would pretty much just duplicate it, and it's a very, very similar structure. So you can see we ended up pulling really nicely down to this 116 level, which technically would be the end of the duplicated pull right there. Yeah, similar structure, H setup. Like I said, you're gonna see these patterns a lot on correction weeks. So it's really just continuous trend on these days. But yeah, that is that. Let's see if we had anything on Apple. I'm actually not sure if we had anything on Apple here. Maybe we did. Yeah, we probably did. Okay, yeah, same exact thing. I could already see it before it even happens. All right, same structure. All right, what was once old support right here, then turned into resistance right here. All right, similar structure. And this is going to be something that I pay attention to pretty often. Is when these individuals have very, very similar structure, right? When they have similar structure like this, it gives a better confluence for your trade, which kind of tell you to, okay, this looks pretty weak across all boards. So this usually means we should have a little bit more of a bigger move and a bit of a cleaner breakout, actually, which you see we obviously got there. All right, I think that's that. So any questions with that? Are we good?
Yeah, good, good.
Good, good, good. All right,
Yeah,
cool. Now let's go to Thinkorswim. We're gonna switch over to TOS and we're gonna look for the weekly watch list. Look at some individuals that we're keeping an eye out on. Um, First things first, we're gonna go to the weekly time frame here. See what we have. So I'd imagine we would be in a pretty tough spot here, actually going into the week. Okay, so as a weekly time frame, pretty aggressive close on the weekly, right? Technically, I don't think we broke the structure yet. I wouldn't say we broke this trend yet. Right, just looking at this channel, you can see that we really just have a higher low, higher low, higher low continuously kind of just coming in. Although this is one of the more aggressive candle closes that we got in a while. Obviously, as you could see, um, with these past couple of trend lines, right, we would tap into this upper trend line, and it would take about, 2 weeks for us to actually even tap the lower trend line, or not even tap it, just, get a little bit of a retracement, and then just continued higher. Little retracement, continued higher. However, this structure right here on the weekly, right, this is definitely going to be a lot more aggressive here. Which this actually could be a potential continuation going into uh, this week if this, what is this, 548 level does decide to break here on SPY. So for me, what I'll be looking for actually, I actually kind of like this level right here on SPY, right at 545. You can see we do have a little bit of support, kind of that like based right around here, 545, 542. Um, Based off where we closed on the weekly, um, technically it is holding this trendline structure, but for me, our real support really comes into, like I said, this 542, 545 level. So I think I really would want to see a pull down to there. I'm gonna mark this down with a blue line. So maybe if we could get a little bit of slippage going into the week into here, and then actually getting a back test of this trend line up to 552. So this actually could be the initiation of a breakout candle here from this higher low structure. So what maybe we could see going into the week, where I would open up. We could either see a pop down to that level and then a back test of that 552, kind of like that. And then we would have technically that weekly close, maybe something like that, if bears do want to continue coming in. Otherwise, depending on how we're opening right now, right, we could see an immediate hold of this this lower trend line, and we could see buyers step in immediately. Right, so this opening today is going to be actually pretty important to see how we move. So yeah,
Mm.
one of these structures, we could get an immediate back test of that upper trend line or lower trend line, sorry, and then just reject it, continue lower, obviously. So if we do get above this 552, which is going to be overnight highs for today, we definitely could expect more buying pressure to come in to take us back into that range. Okay.
Mm. We're up around 1% on Nasdaq at the moment.
Oh, all right. I didn't even pay attention
Yeah,
to anything yet.
yeah. We just hit that 9927 area
Oh,
and is reacting that at this moment.
okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah. So it looks like pretty nice sub level right there.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think we yeah, this trend line technically is still holding even on a daily, but I do like this kind of basing here still right at this 544 level,
yeah,
545. And it would be also really nice with that 78.6, although we are starting to technically hold this 61.8 right now. Um, like I said, similar structure with all those names, right? We're looking for a fill of, that daily time frame imbalance. We actually have a little bit more room here with SPY, right? As we didn't actually fully fill it, we actually used it as support here, as you can see. So we ended up using it as support and we actually didn't get that filled. So I may actually be looking for this to fill first and then start seeing some buying come in. So just keeping that in mind for me. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We in terms of upside targets, we do have an imbalance to fill on the daily up to 556, which could be nice there, but yeah, it looks like we are going to be opening up pretty much right on the outskirts of this trend line, so it's kind of going to be a tough spot here. So for me, I would like to see a break of these, either just overnight low or overnight high, to give us a little bit more direction for where we're going to go for this opening candle. But yeah, I think that's that. Any questions with that?
I got a question.
What's up?
So on that edge shit up, do you usually wait for the trend line to, I mean, the actually the price to break below the time frame, or like how do you use that?
You said for the H setup?
Yes.
Okay, give me 1 second to pull that up. So the H setup, I'm gonna go back to the one that I took on Thursday. which was not this one. So the H setup here for Thursday's trade, um, there's a couple of different spots that you could take, and that's gonna go with any trade that you take. However, with me, I like to get technically the reversal entry. Um, as you know, there's technically a reversal trader and there's a breakout trader, right? But then that also comes with reversal entries and breakout entries. So technically, you would have to take, if you're looking for the structure, you would want it to break below that H. So we obviously have the H set up right here, right? We have a little pull or whatever, and then we have almost a curling formation right there, right? So a confirmed breakout with the H setup would technically have to be a break below this low here, right, as your entry. So usually you would want to catch the momentum. So this candle right here would actually confirm the H pattern, and then you would usually look for an entry off the following candle here to ride the momentum. So your risk probably would have to be a break back above that, and then your reward obviously would be to catch that momentum more for a new lower low to come in, which would be, something like this. Um, Now that would be a breakout trader's entry, right? As you're really riding the momentum. However, with me, I really don't like that as this technically could be seen as a double bottom right here, right? So double bottom setup right there. So, this could actually even stop you out just based off of a wick, right? You literally could tap off this, technically could be considered double bottom, and we could pop up immediately. Your breakout trader stops would get ran and would even probably continue lower right there. However, my entry, right, I took my entry off of, I believe it was one of these levels. And I'm pretty sure there was a level here. I believe this was previous low of day. 4? I forget. Anyways, um, yeah, I took an entry uh, right at 60 or 72 or 71, which is about here, somewhere right there. I believe there was a level here though. There was some type of level right above us that we actually ended up recapturing back below, and I believe it was might have been previous low of day, if I'm correct, on QQQ. So I'm just gonna go with that. But the reason why I took my entry up here was probably because there was a level here. I believe there was a level like somewhere right here. So we ended up getting a close above previous low of day, another falling candle close above previous low of day, and we actually end up getting a recapture back below it. Um, so for me, that's showing that one, buyers aren't really going to be present here. And then another confirmation was just going to be what I was talking about earlier with that break and retest, right? So what was once old support then turned into resistance. So this is really just going to be a break and retest structure right here. Um, this is showing me that, we probably are going to be using this as, a new resistance. And then with this entry here, I was anticipating that structure of the H setup to form. And I believe I actually recorded in the live recording. I believe I was looking for that. I was looking for the confirmation of this H setup to form. So this candle right here, I was actually already up, right? So in this case, I could literally move my stops to break even or even in profit, and I would have a risk-free trade if I was looking for this, momentum to continue. Um, so, with this structure in itself, uh, what am I trying to say here? Sorry, I just blanked. So with the structure in itself, um, you have a greater R to R, as if we didn't you break down from this spot immediately, yes, this would be a potential bullish case scenario, right? Whereas if you took your entry right here at the breakout level, right, your risk is probably going to be about this, right? However, H setups, they aren't always going to break out immediately, right? It may actually take some time to base here, which is why I said, if you're playing a breakout, we may actually chop here and they may attempt to run your stops, at these highs here before breaking out. Whereas if you're in a entry up here, right, your stops would technically be above that high or above whatever level I had here, which would then um, flip the sentiment into bullish if this setup was to invalidate itself, right? However, once we get this break here, once we got this break lower and confirm the H setup, that's going to be continuing to validate that H structure, and you could look to actually continue to hold through this, even if we decided to chop around. As if we did come back to break even, that probably would mean that bulls are still going to be present, and that H setup is going to be invalid. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, cool. Anyways, let's see what we're looking at. Oh yeah, so we just covered a SPY right there. So we're gonna go back to QQQ now. I'd imagine it'd be similar structure for the weekly. Oh, actually, it looks
No, we
a
have
lot weaker.
a bearish engulfing on the
Oh
weekly
yeah.
on QQ. Yeah.
Okay, so this is gonna be quite interesting. So QQQ actually is gonna be a lot tougher here. So bearish engulfing, definitely for sure, right? However, we did end up closing, technically still holding this 475 level. We do have imbalance to fill slightly below on the weekly, which could be something we may look for. However, it might look like we want to use this 475 level as a base. As like I said, we didn't get this break below on the weekly. However, I'll be keeping an eye out if we do get a daily close below this 475, as we have quite a bit of room down. For me, I'm honestly more of a fan of this level over here, down to 430. I doubt we'll get there, or we might, who knows, but I'm more of a fan of this level for sure, rather than this level up here at this 475 level. As you can see, we have a lot more structure, we have a lot more basing here. Um, so I think for me, all the way down to 440 would be a lot more of a healthy retracement compared to, where we're sitting at right now. Definitely could expect, we've had multiple red weeks in the past before, so I wouldn't see why we wouldn't be able to do that. But going into the week today, where are we at? Yeah, we're pretty much in the same technically area as SPY. So what we could look for, we could look for a back test of, one of these levels here, maybe 480 or even 485, as we most likely are going to create an imbalance here on the weekly, I believe. So we could look for a back test of one of those levels up to 485, and we could look for potentially more downside with those
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Yeah, I was looking for a back test of that trend line around
Hmm.
there, or half that weekly candle, and then react and close
Yep.
below this close
Hmm.
on on Friday. If not, we could go up more
Yeah.
in that sense, because that will invalidate that engulfing pattern if we don't have a close below it and close below that left white candle, could say the left side there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, so now we actually open up quite high here on that candle. That will be interesting.
Yeah, I actually would like this to reject here as well. Yeah, bullish case would be if we flipped back above 45, in my opinion. Above 45, above 46, that would flip back to a bullish case. And from there, we honestly could expect to see a new all-time high again from it, maybe. Otherwise, it could be maybe a minor fib retracement for the week. Maybe something like this up to, back test of this higher 497. However, I really don't think that's the case. I think if we do end up popping up here, I think we would see a new high for me. So I think fib
Yeah,
would be invalidated there. Um, but
yeah, that's probably gonna squeeze instead then.
take a look
Fall
at the
this
daily.
short on last week. Yeah.
So the
Maybe.
daily here actually is quite nice, as we do have this gap to fill right there. So
Yeah.
yeah, this would actually almost line up what we were talking about, right? If we get a back test of this trend line, maybe something like this up to 489, 490. I don't, I probably wouldn't like us to fill this. I would like us to use this as a resistance, this gap as resistance, as it would be the pretty much bottom of that trend line. And then You know, maybe something like that. As we are actually opening higher, as he said. So this would make a lot more sense for me, for this scenario to happen. However, I would like to actually take a look at some of the individuals now, but any ideas, comments on this at all from anyone? We all good. Okay. All right, let's take a look at Apple here. Apple on the weekly. Ooh, big rejection there. So big rejection, pretty much engulfing candle right there. However, we didn't close below that low, this 223 level. So technically we do still have this imbalance to fill on the larger time frame, all the way down to pretty much 215. And this would be a retracement level that I actually like. I want us to back test this 215 definitely for sure. As you see, this is where we started to actually base a couple weeks ago. So 215 level is going to be that area that I'm going to be looking for a back test for. So I do like more downside, especially with how this candle closed. I just would like us to get below this 222, 223 level on Apple. Take a look at the daily. Similar structure. Um, Still looks good, yeah. And this would really just be a break and retest of this flagging structure. So yeah, this is going to be that same actually idea that we had last week for Apple. So overall thesis for Apple isn't going to change compared to last week. We're looking for a fill of this daily imbalance, which would be a break and retest of this previous flag structure. And like I said, this should be right about 218. The 218 is going to be a fill of that daily imbalance. However, I really like us down to 215. So a little bit more room down there. But yeah, that's pretty much that. And then bullish case scenario would have to be if we end up coming probably back above 228 for me, I think. Flip back to longs, especially if we got a daily close above 228 for me. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, like I said, we just have a couple of more imbalances fill below us. So yeah, I think we are still in correction mode. Any questions on this? No? All right. Microsoft. Yeah, I want to try to run through this pretty quick as we have market open coming soon. So I'm just gonna run through this. All right. Weekly on Microsoft. A lot better looking structure here. Um, we did get roughly about a halfway fill of this imbalance on the weekly time frame. However, we didn't get quite pulled down to this 427 level, which is going to be that level that I was looking to actually get into for last week. So looks like actually a lot of these individual names are gonna, they haven't really changed much from last week's analysis on the larger time frame, right? I do still want Microsoft to fill this, weekly imbalance down to this level, as this be very similar structure to Apple from that previous flag breakout, right? It's going to be a flag breakout with a break and retest of that level there. So still looks good for me for more downside for Microsoft, as we are technically we close inside of that FVG on the weekly. So I would like us to actually fill it before expecting to see some longs come in. So that's that for me. Actually, let's take a look at the daily. I forgot. Look at the daily here. Yeah, similar structure, not too much different. We actually are below view up. It looks like we did close right below view up. So as long as we maintain this close below view up, we should probably expect to see a little bit more. Google here. Actually, pretty nice structure overall. We actually got this break below this higher low. So this actually has quite a bit of room down with this demand level that we're sitting at. Although this was actually our final target for last week's analysis. So Google actually might be a leading name in terms of tech strength going into the week, as this was my target for last week's analysis. Um, More downside level definitely has room to 172 if we do want to continue to break from this almost wedge structure. But if we actually go to the daily, you can see that this was the setup that we were kind of eyeing for going into the beginning of the week last week. We were looking for almost a head and shoulder setup to form, and we're looking for a break below that lower trend line. And you can see our target actually held beautifully at this 177 level, which is going to be a fill of that daily imbalance right here. So definitely, if we get below this level here, I'd say 176 as a safety net. So below 176, we have room down to 171. Otherwise, as long as we hold this 177, we definitely might see some buying step in at this level there. That's that. And now my favorite name, NVIDIA. Let's see what we have. So I believe NVIDIA sold pretty hard last week, so pretty interesting. Yeah, so NVIDIA here, especially on the weekly, you see we have a higher low structure here, especially with the way these wicks are forming. However, you can see, right, pretty bearish slash engulfing candle here on that weekly close. We did close right at this 417 level, which is technically at a support still, just looking at these daily or these previous levels for the weekly. So I would like us to see if we could get below 117. I would not be surprised if we actually end up going back to 100. I know it's a stretch, but 100 psych level would be huge back test level here on NVIDIA, right after we got this previous break. And keep in mind, right, this is really just going to be setting up for more upside towards the future, right? So just because we're getting a little bit of a correction now isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? So I actually really like this down to 100 as it would be a fill of this imbalance right here. Halfway fill of that imbalance on the weekly time frame. Nice psychological level there. Um, so yeah, I think if this dumps, we have room here, in my opinion. So I think that's going to be something we're going to be looking out for going into the week. And daily. Yep, similar structure here on NVIDIA. Daily higher low, as I mentioned, right, did get broken. Do have this imbalance to fill slightly overhead, right there up to 124. But we may actually end up using this as resistance. However, if we do get that fill, we definitely could look for shorts right at 124. But as you can see, we are technically basing right here between 122 and 117. So yeah, below 117, could look for more downside for sure, down to potentially 100 here. And I think this would move really fast as well. So below 117, we have a little bit of support that comes in at 114 and 109. So those are going to be, I guess, the levels that I'll be keeping an eye out on going into the week if we do get this break below 117. Otherwise, below 109, you could see we really don't have a whole lot up until 95 actually. So this is going to be the real breakout level for me on NVIDIA is going to be 109. Below that, we have quite a bit of room down, right? And that's it. Any questions on anything that we covered so far? So yeah, I guess overview for me looks like my bias is still going to be a little bit more in correction mode until we get a break, you know, on the larger time frames here, for maybe like QQQ and SPY. So yeah, for me, it still looks like we have more room down just based off looking at, some of the individuals. Google might be a little bit more of a stronger name coming into the week as it did hit my weekly targets. However, if we do get this break below 176, we have room down for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.